Call the meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the regular meeting for February the 9th of 2026. We'll start with a roll call.
Weber.
Yes.
Hannah. Moore.
Yes.
Versater.
Present.
Maynard.
Present.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Appleby. Yes.
I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next we move to public comment. Mr. Kohler, I'm sure. Just a reminder, since you've talked a couple of times, 5-minute limit on the.
Yeah, I'm doing
and
my best here.
I'll let you know when we get close to it.
That's fine. I just received a letter about the petition in the mail. And first of all, I want to let you all know that it was, wasn't written in our first letter or when I first talked to Sue that if we wanted to protest 2026 road project, we would have to have 75% total assessed value. I had the understanding was our household people. Nothing was said on that. Okay. If we wanted to protest 2026 road progress, total assessed value of our homes, not just the household signatures, then nothing was said in the first meeting. Sorry, it was too late to protest. It looks like it was kind of a setup from the get-go, so that households didn't even have enough time to assess the situation on how to protest this whole issue. I mean, 12 days, right after Christmas, boom, letter. We're going to vote on it. Yes. You should think, actually, for the household citizens, what their thoughts were on the road project, not just assessed value. Homeowners, please contact the mayor or what you think of this situation. And another question I want to ask, we pay the percentage, $30 a foot or whatever. Who's paying the rest?
Yes.
Out of our tax money, right?
Sure.
So we're getting double banged on it, principally. So I'm not just paying my $2,000, some paying $4,000, some are paying $6,000. That's not nothing. Then they're going to pay so much out of their taxes. So, and I only feel that there's one council member that is really here that's actually, I feel here, are looking out for the citizens, not just, let's just vote on this. I mean, I had 30-some signatures, mostly all the households, that said they're disagreeing with this. But let's just go ahead and do it. So that's all I got to say, because I think it's, from the start, it was a rigged system. 12 days, didn't even give anybody a chance to speak up. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming back in. Okay, let's move to item number 5, which is the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda that reads as follows: the minutes of the January 26, 2026 regular meeting, the minutes of the February 2nd, 2026 work session / special meeting, the Gedney Bakery and Coffee House Class C retail alcohol license renewal with outdoor service with a tentative effective date of February 15th, 2026, the Quick Star number 717 Class B retail alcohol license renewal with a tentative effective date of April 1, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to the financials. This is item number 6 on the agenda. I need a motion to approve the claims for payment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Next, we move to the bank reconciliation. This is for information only. Does anybody have any questions with regard to the bank reconciliation? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 8, which is revenues and expenses to date. Again, this is information only. Anybody have any questions regarding that? Okay. Hearing none, we would then move to item number 9. I need a motion to set March the 23rd, 2026 at 4:45 p.m. Here at this location as a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy for fiscal year 2027.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. This will be a roll call vote.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Appleby,
Oops.
sorry,
This is a roll call vote on just setting a public hearing for the proposed tax.
Second.
Item number 9 on the agenda.
It's just setting a date for it.
Oh, yeah, yep.
so Appleby,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Is that everybody? Okay, passes 7-0. Next, we move to item number 10. Pursuant to the agenda, I'll now convene a public hearing on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2026 street rehabilitation project.
So moved.
This is
Second.
this is pursuant to the agenda. I don't need a motion or a second. We're now in a public hearing.
I did not receive any comments regarding the plan specs and form of contract.
Okay, I'll now close the public hearing, since there's no comments for the record. Then we now move to item number 11. Items 11 through 13 all apply to the 2026 street rehabilitation project, and primarily, these are the steps that we have to take pursuant to code in order to proceed with the projects itself. So we will start with item number 11. I need a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to finally and approve and confirm the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2026 street rehabilitation project.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion with regard to this?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
On the resolution of the rehabilitation of the street.
No, we're on 11.
11. Which is that?
Resolution finally approving and confirming plan specs, form of contract, and the estimate of cost for the 2026 street
Yeah.
rehab.
So I think we should discuss whether we want to step forward with that because of public outcry to not want it. And so by not funding it, we would be able to
Okay,
change.
understood. This is more the procedural aspect of the contract itself.
To show what we're going to.
So we have to, it's approving of the plans themselves, it's approving of the specifications, it's approving of the contract that we would be entering into. It's those types of items.
That's what I'm saying. So if you don't approve the contract, then it wouldn't go forward. By approving the contract, we're stepping forward to pay for it and fund it.
Okay. Any further discussion with regard to that? Okay, this will be a roll call vote then.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Appleby,
No.
Weber,
Yes.
Hannah.
That passes 6-1. Next, we move to item number 12. Again, this is the same topic. The bids have come in with regard to the 2026 street rehabilitation project. They were received, they were to be received prior to 11 a.m. on February the 4th of 2026 at City Hall. And that same day and that same time, the office of the clerks opened and read, and that it was at this time that the place was set for the consideration of such bids, which is tonight. So the bids themselves, in your packet, there's a letter from Mark Crawford, who's present here, indicating that the bids range from $677,326.90 to $783,949.50. The tabulations are found in your packet on page 135 and 136. The low bid on the project that was submitted was, and I always pronounce this wrong,
Chick Fry.
Chick-fry, excavating company from Dubuque. Their bid was $677,326.90, and Mark Crawford and his company had compared all the different bids to the other ones to make sure that they were all consistent with each other, and that is hereby recommending that we award the contract to Chick-fry Excavating Company. So then we move to item number 13 on the agenda. Item number 13 is a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a resolution awarding the contract for the 2026 street rehabilitation project to Chick-fry Excavating Company of Dubuque, Iowa, in the amount of $677,326.90.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion with regard to this? Hearing none, this would again be a roll call vote.
Crusader.
Yes.
Maynard.
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Appleby.
No.
Weber.
Yes.
Hannah. Moore.
Yes.
So that again passes 6-1. Okay, that should be all with regard to the 2026 projects. Move to item number 14. This is dealing with the grant application for the First Street West, rebuilding a major corridor project under the U.S. Department of Transportation, better utilizing investments to leverage development grant program. What's that known as? Build. As build. So I need a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to endorse the First Street West rebuilding a major corridor project for grant funding.
Can I ask you a question first?
Sure.
So are these plans already, they're already done?
No, this is our, where we are in this project is we applied for this grant last year.
Right.
And we were in the top consideration of ones to be accepted. This is a remember how much this was for?
The project overall is almost $19 million.
Okay.
But there's a $1.3 million funding that we already have in place through SDBG, which is through Intercog, that we'd already secured, and that can be used towards our match. When it's all said and done, the City of Independence's outlay for this is about, right now, is projected between $700,000 and $800,000.
So like all the aspects outlined in here aren't necessarily in the plan?
All this is so far, I kind of stopped because I asked about the dollar amount, but, so we didn't get the project last year.
Right.
We didn't get the grant funding last year. So this is just the resubmission of the application. So the application is due later this month, and we're in the process of getting the county, various other chamber, economic development, all kinds of, the school district, all kinds of other people to support our application.
Okay.
The application would then be resubmitted on the due date, and then we would hear probably sometime in the summer, is that right?
Right.
Whether we got the project. If we get the project, what we would be doing with the project is this goes from the bridge, First Street West, all the way to the end of town. We would be.
Golf course boulevard.
No, not that far.
Mayor, point of order.
Just a second.
Just
So-
at the end of the city limits.
The end of city limits. We're going west.
Right. My concern is the 8-foot wide trail and 5-foot wide sidewalk. Some of those businesses out there do not have that kind of space that they can.
Yeah, we're.
Mayor, point of order.
Just a-
You don't have a first or a second on it yet, and discussion should come after you have the first and second, not prior to it.
I was answering his question before.
I know, but the question is dealing with this, which is after a motion is seconded.
Okay. Can I have, let's start then. Do I have a motion to do?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay. No. Question.
So
Just a technicality, but
we're not that far along in this.
So that could change, that's not
Oh, yeah.
set in stone, that's what I was asking.
Absolutely not. All we're doing is,
out yet.
all we're doing is we're providing the information to our
For the grant.
for the grant itself.
Okay.
So that
It
we
hasn't-
can,
So we've not put plans together for that yet. We have concept plans together that do show an 8-foot trail on one side and a 5-foot sidewalk on the other.
I'm all
One of
for
the
the
things-
trails, don't get me wrong, and sidewalks. I just don't feel some of those businesses have that space to give up.
And that's what we've got to work through when we go through the design, because we want to make sure that we don't infringe on those businesses. We've got to keep the trails and sidewalks, if we're going to put those in, as close as possible. We've got to work through that and figure that out.
Okay.
You're right, there are space constraints out there that the
Right.
consultant's well aware of. We've talked through that. When I met with the business owners last year, when I originally talked with them about this, we talked through that with several of them. There's still concerns, for sure.
Right.
And there's things that have to be worked out. But we've got to get the funding to do the project before we can get into the details of how to work those out.
And
But
our-
it's definitely our intent to work with them and figure that out, not to just come in and say, we're going to do this.
Okay,
You know?
that's, I read it wrong then.
okay, all this particular resolution is merely saying that council approves the submission of the application.
It also says that we will provide a 10% match for the project,
Right.
but that also outlines that we're going to use the Service Transportation Block Grant from Intercog as part of that match, along with other local dollars.
And then what other, wasn't there, I don't remember all the details, wasn't it mostly to redo the main street and the sewer underneath?
So it's a full reconstruction, so it'd be the street, it'd be sanitary sewers, it'd be water lines, it'd be the storm sewer, everything.
And lighting too, right?
And lighting, street lighting as well. It'd also be moving
And all
the
utility-
electrical that's above ground.
Be very-
Yeah, the electrical that's above ground would get moved underground as part of the project.
Okay.
It's a big project.
See, we've already done both, the other three sides coming into Independence. This is the final side, and the hope is that by doing this particular project, we'll be able to take the First Street West area, which is probably one of the least economically successful ones at the present time, when we lost McDonald's and we lost Hardee's and we lost Pizza Hut and the other types of businesses that were along there. There aren't very many businesses along there. We're hoping that by doing this, we'll encourage more business growth in the city. That's it. Okay, so any further discussion? Did you have something else?
Yes, dealing with this, so when we are applying for that grant, we don't have to give the details of exactly what we're doing?
No,
As far
not at
as
this
trails
stage.
and anything at this time?
Not at this stage.
So that grant is not adjusted on the overall project then? Oh, the overall expense of the project?
The cost estimate that's included right now is the overall cost of the project does include the trails and the sidewalk both.
Right. But would that make a difference if that wasn't included in there?
In multiple ways. One, it would lower the cost of the project, but it would also lower the scoring of the project because the federal government wants to see those mobility pieces included in these projects.
So what my question is if we did make some changes to that
After we got the...
after we got the grant, could the government pull the grant back away from us?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I would expect that they would be able to do some sort of clawback. I just don't know what that would look like right now.
What other options, I guess, besides the sidewalk, would you have that we could, what is it that it specifies that preemptively says, hey, we need this in the grant in order to achieve it, that says the sidewalk
So
provision?
mobility is a big piece of the grant as
Okay.
far as the scoring process. That includes pedestrian mobility, vehicle mobility, any of that. And if we remove those sidewalks and the trail out of the project, you're going to lose scoring points right off the bat.
Okay, could we do something that would be e-bike friendly, where we could make a loop instead away from businesses and do something like that if we wanted to change direction? And then it would
I don't
still be
believe
Out
it
on
would be part
First
of-
Street West?
I don't believe it would be part of this project if you did that.
Can't, okay.
And the other part of it is that my understanding is that we're only using city right-of-way property. We're not taking
Right.
property from anybody. We're talking about sidewalks
now,
and trails on
that's-
our property that we
That's what
own.
we have planned right now, yes.
Just widening it.
Yeah, no, within our city right-of-way. Has nothing to do with what properties are owned by any of the businesses down there. This is on our property, not on their property. Does that make better sense?
Between the sidewalk currently and to the curb, you saying, or what do you?
From the curb,
To the property?
8 feet in, Matt?
It depends, it varies.
Okay.
On a major road like that, it's more than that.
12 probably.
So we're only talking about,
20 maybe?
there's no taking of property of a business or a homeowner or anything like that. This is strictly being built on city property.
I just meant like more like if we wanted to change something without losing it, what other options do we have?
Well, I guess we have to talk about that at the time, but I don't, like Matt said, is a major scoring portion of it, so
Yeah.
we'd probably,
Would lose the grant if we took it
Right.
out.
well, we could lose the
At least for
grant.
this cycle, you'd have to pull back and reevaluate what you want to do and then go for the next cycle next year.
But remember,
Did you have that breakdown of that grant request sent to us, so we could look at the wording for it?
it's not that,
Wasn't that given to us more through our engineering agency, the
Yeah.
people that helped us? I mean, it
Through the
wasn't
grant
something
writers
we-
that are helping us go through it.
Where would it be on that I could look at it?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
and see, remember, the project's already been approved for us to submit the application. This is what we're doing here on this vote on item number 14, is we're endorsing this, which is what the county did this morning. The county approved this morning for us to do this. Other entities are sending their recommendation letters in now. So all we're saying, they're not going to approve a grant if the city council doesn't agree that they want us to get this grant.
Right.
So that's what you're voting on.
You're voting
I'm
on,
just saying that the changing of the words later, so we could make a plan if we wanted to, making changes. So then, if we know exactly where our limits lie for the grant, that says you got to make sure that you accomplish A, B, and C, well, then we could make adjustments that we need.
I don't think that I think that the current, what you submit on the application is general. I mean, there are some specifics that are provided in terms of the distance of what First Street, what the travel distance of First Street is, and the fact that we're, how much, feet of pipe there would potentially be. I don't
We don't have any of those details right now. It's
Yeah.
just a generalized description of what we want to do with the project.
And we gave them a concept map.
So it's pretty general. We could probably change it quite a lot then, if need be.
I can't commit that we can change something, but in terms of taking away that part, because that's a major part of the reason why we would be getting the grant, it would be because we're trying to add trails and we're trying to add
Pedestrian routes.
pedestrian routes to get from one part of the city to the other parts of the city. So I can't tell you that.
And you know that information, that's what the information I'm trying to get, like
I-
what the requirements.
I don't think that information exists at this present time. I don't know
Then
that.
how do you know it wouldn't fall under it?
Experience of applying for the grant for projects like this. We had a firm come in and help us with this, and they submit grants like this all the time for big projects for cities, and that it's their recommendation that we do it this way based on what they've done in the past and what they've actually experienced. There's not like a list.
Okay.
There may be a list, but they also know how to help us position so that way we have a better chance of getting the grant.
Okay.
So to answer your question, I don't know if there is that specific list you're asking
right.
for. We relied on them and their experience and knowledge to help us position to get it.
Yeah, and just usually, I think a grant usually says whatever the outlay is of requirements.
Most
and
grants aren't.
Can't help with that. I've never written a grant.
I mean, really, every grant has that.
Well, you're dealing with the federal government.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with a very large amount of money.
What is the grant called that we could look it up through the government?
It's called Build Now, which is,
The Build Now.
If you look up BUILD, you'll get to it right away, BUILD.
Okay.
It's Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development Grant Program. There is a long list of, well, the Notice of Funding Opportunity is 51 pages long.
Okay.
And we're paying the consultant that we're working with to help us go through
So we
that,
don't have to do it.
to be as successful as we possibly can be when we submit the grant application.
Okay.
I think, obviously, they're not here, so they can't, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think they would tell you that if you remove sidewalks from a grant like this, you're likely not going to get the
I
grant.
don't mean removal, I just meant like how much can we tweak it based on the requirements that they have?
The one thing I would point to in that regard is the wording in the resolution says, specifically about this, it says, the project will also work to address existing safety concerns and gaps in the active transportation network along the corridor by providing an 8-foot wide trail and/or 5-foot wide sidewalk along both sides of the roadway. So it may not be an 8-foot trail on one side, it may be a 5-foot on both sides. It may be a 5-foot on one side, it may be an 8-foot on one side. We won't know that until we get into the design of the project, which will be after if we're successful getting the grant.
Okay, financial plan.
And it is a major expansion and development for the well-being of our community for the
Well, I don't
future.
disagree in that.
It's just a matter of, and another thing is if the grant does go through, our match is only like 10%, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 10%, but remember, 1.3 million of that comes through SDBG funds, which is another grant.
Exactly.
So we're
we have.
leveraging multiple sources here in order to get a project done that would be very difficult for the city to afford to do on its own.
A very major thing that is very expensive, and it actually is not going to cost the city a whole lot of money based on the overall project. And it's very advantageous for our citizens that we try to get this accomplished.
Oh, I agree. I just was saying if we wanted to make a tweak to it for the sidewalk, how would we be ready for it rather than waiting until July and then trying to figure it out? That's all.
But we won't start design until after we know whether or not we've gotten the award, which won't be until July at the earliest anyway.
Okay.
So,
Okay, any further discussion with regard to this? Okay, so everybody knows what we're voting on. We're voting on authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution endorsing First Street West rebuilding a major corridor project for grant funding. So that's the motion. Roll call vote then.
Maynard?
Yes.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Appleby?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next, we move to other business. This is amendment number 1 to the agreement for professional services that we're talking about. So this is the same topic, exactly what we've been talking about. I need a motion to approve amendment number 1 to an agreement with Ritland and Cooper Landscape Architects for the First Street West Corridor Improvements Project and to authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. That's the motion.
So
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion with regard to this. If you look at your packet,
page 144,
okay,
there was some request during the work session to include financial information in there as far as what the original contract was, how much of the original contract had been spent, what this amendment was, and what the new total contract amount would be. And that's all included on page 144. The original contract with Ritland and Cooper was $159,000. They had invoiced $117,431.64 as of April of last year, which would have been about when we were in the middle. And then they're asking for an additional $19,900, which would raise the whole contract to $178,900, meaning that $66,953.64 would be available for this second round submittal.
okay, further discussion with regard to that.
Could that be part of our 10% later if we get it approved?
This is what we're paying them to write the grant for us.
Or no?
Further discussion? Hearing none, this would be a roll call vote then.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Appleby?
Yes.
Weber?
Yes.
Hannah?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Crusader?
Yes.
Maynard?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Next, we move to item number 16. I need a motion to approve SRE equipment.
Snow removal equipment.
Okay, snow removal equipment, task order number 11 with Bolton Mink for engineering services and acceptance of the associated cost analysis and finding the proposed fees to be fair and reasonable. So first I need the motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Matt, you want to tell this, because we're talking about the airport, an engineer is required even when we're just purchasing snow removal equipment. So this is Bolton Mink, who's the engineer that's been doing all of our work out at the airport, that's submitted their contract for services, or?
It's a task order under their existing contract. So anytime you get a grant through the FAA, they require it to be engineered. So we have to pay money to have this engineered to be able to buy a piece of equipment. Brett, do you want to come up and add anything more to that or more explanation about why this is required and what it is?
So when you're using federal dollars, the FAA has clear guidance on procedures and how things are going to happen. One of those being hiring an engineering firm to come in and essentially put the specs and everything together, submit it, put it out for bid for the tractor. Part of that also being we have to do a cost analysis on it to make sure that their fee assessment is in line with other places that have done it in previous years. They submitted to me 3 different SRE projects that had been done for similar equipment, and then I reached out to 3 other ones and compared, and they're all within respectable limits. So,
And this is to buy equipment, right?
yes.
If you did a rental, would, like, just had somebody else do it, contract, would you still have to fall under that? Or could we omit paying for
The-
engineer for it?
Renting something to do this would be,
Not renting, I meant like hiring a service.
so hiring a service would be difficult. I mean, the city's outlay on this is $2,350 for the engineering aspect. The overall stuff for the rest of the snow removal equipment's, I want to say,
475.
that's the total,
Yeah.
but we pay 5% of that.
Yeah, it's a 95.5 or something.
44,650 Fed share, 2350 local share.
That's just for the engineering.
That's
fee.
for the
I'm talking about the overall
engineering.
equipment purchase as well. The overall equipment purchase is $475,000, and 5% of that is what we would pay. So to your point, to pay somebody to do that, we'd have to find somebody that costs less than that, what the city is outlaying right now, because the FAA is not going to reimburse us or share with that cost.
So the FAA is going to reimburse us for most
90
of the
95%.
95% of that. So
Yes,
then that's our portion. Okay, and that's why we want to do it that way.
So we could go out and buy the tractor on our own through the city. We could just go to the local dealership and we could buy whatever tractor we think is the closest. Write them a check. It may be 250,000, whatever the price tag is. But if we use the grant through the FAA, we can obtain, yes, it will be a little bit higher, but we can use their guidelines. And part of their guidelines is hire an engineering firm, have them put the specs together to meet our requirements, and then send those out and have people bring them back. The other, you have to go through their hoops, because everything has to be American made. It can't be made other places. There's very few people here that can do that. But their spec sheets, 100 and some pages deep of specifications from the FAA.
Okay.
So yeah, we could, but in order to use this grant, we have to follow their guidelines. And it's like that with all the projects that we use with the FAA. We have to follow it to a T. And that's why we contract with an engineering firm to do that. That's all they do, is airport stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brett. Any further discussion with regard to this? Okay, this will be a roll call vote then.
Appleby,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
Maynard,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes. Passes 7-0. Next, we move to item number 17. I need a motion to record and broadcast city council work sessions via video. First, I need a motion,
Sure.
and is there a second? Matt, do you want a second so we can have a discussion, or do you just want to leave it?
Me? Okay.
It's okay. I mean,
You don't have
there-
to.
you don't have to. You don't have to.
It dies of lack of second if you don't second it. And you have no discussion.
Well, we had discussion already at the work session, but the only reason I looked at you is because when you first became a council member, this was something else that you were advocating for, and after you had had a chance to talk to the department heads and the other people about it, you realized that it was better that we didn't do it, as I
Right.
recall. But
You learn more after, the longer you're on here. So.
Sure. Okay, well, if there is no second, it would die for a lack of a second then. Okay, so then we would move to reports. Start with the police department monthly report. I guess everybody in your package, you had that report from the chief. Is there any questions that anybody has with regard to that, the items that are on that report, which is basically talking about all the different types of calls that they were on in the last month, right? Yeah.
January 25's, or January 26's monthly report.
So does anybody have anything for Chief Lau that they want to ask about that report? Okay.
Are you getting more medical assists now than you were previous? Looked like you had 11 this last month.
I wouldn't necessarily say we get more medical assist. It just kind of depends on the officers and their availability and the type of call. If there's a call that the officers feel like that they can assist on, they're going to go to that call regardless.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that we've had any more. It may just be a circumstantial as to what types of calls that came in and if those officers could assist on the call or not.
Okay.
But And looking at that call sheet for January, what I will say is at 400 and some calls for service for January, normally in January and February, we tend to move down a little bit in our calls for service, but we're just seeing that we're busy every month now, and we're not really getting that cut in calls for service, and that's just, again, documented calls for service that are assigned a case number. That's not all the other calls that the officers end up going to that don't end up generating a case number. So they're staying busy, staying real busy.
Because between the fire department and you guys are doing a lot of assists on medical.
The fire department, yeah, if they're rolling out or if they're being asked by AMR to assist, we're not necessarily getting asked to assist on those calls.
Okay, but I just saw the 11 on there that cited medical, and I thought, wow, that's,
Yep, and if there's a medical call, and like I said, the officer's in the area and they have an AED or whatever in the squad car, the officer's usually the one that says, hey, show me out on that call, because they know that they can help.
yeah.
Would that change when we leave from what we're using right now for ambulance and then when we go to our own?
We can,
I don't-
we can talk about that further, because we're
Yeah.
going to talk about AMR in a few minutes. Chief Lau would not be as directly involved in that. That's more of a fire department that they would be called for services. It's not something that the
Okay.
police department's normally called for. They're on site because, as Chief Lau said, they heard the call and they thought that they could assist in some way, which, of course, we would do anytime we could.
And they can usually get there pretty quick. So like they don't have to get called out, they're already out, depending on where they're at in town. But as far as the police department responding to things, no matter who the ambulance service is, I don't foresee anything changing with the way the police
Okay.
department responds.
All right.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, then moving then to the fire department monthly report. Is there any questions that anybody had with, Blake with regard to his report? Anything that you want to add to your?
Yeah, just the one thing, you'll notice the format's a little bit different. So they made a nationwide change from the NFIRS reporting system to Nearest. So every department in the state or in the country is updated as of January. So you'll see the formatting's a little bit different. If you guys need or want different information, I had to go in and build this report for Clerk Lampy when she was emailing me about it. So I kind of went through it really quick, but it's just plain Jane. If you need something different or want different things on there, we can put it on there, but gives you at least the volume and kind of what we're going to, so.
And I don't think we talked about this with you in a public meeting, but congratulations on handling all those calls that you guys did last year. That was a tremendous amount of calls compared to what we had in the
Wow.
past. So
Yep,
great job.
You guys are to be commended. It's
they
fantastic.
do a great job, so.
So going forward, this will be our format that we're going to see,
Unless you
unless
guys-
somebody changes it.
Yeah, unless you guys want something different, that's just the new Nearest thing, so I had to go in and make a whole new, all our old reports that used to just get kicked out monthly, all are gone. Because when they switch, it's just, they up and went from.
Start fresh.
They went from Apple to Samsung, so nothing transferred over or anything like that, so.
This is all pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, not to say that
you
we
know?
can't do it, but if you just want a different format or more or less information, we can get it for you, but.
This is good.
So is this easier to input in, or is it?
No, it's actually harder. They're making changes every day, so Tommy, they have a full-time contractor that works with it, that Tommy's doing a great job, but it'll actually give us a lot better data. Going forward, we can kind of break it down. It's a lot more, it's a lot harder to put it in. I shouldn't even say harder, it's just a lot more time consuming to put in. But it's a lot more data, so we'll be able to really nitpick down to certain things, so. Yeah, we have the ability to track a lot of things, so it's, and not just us, I mean, nationwide, so. pretty cool.
Nice.
Thanks, Blake.
Thanks.
It's like,
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, so next, item's number 20, Building Department monthly reports. Did anybody have any questions with regard to the reports that Matt can take back to Matt?
Yeah, what were we?
Wow.
About that?
Yeah, page, near the end, page 207, was it? One of them, on the very end, on the right-of-way things, there was one issued to City Hall. Was that just a test, or did City Hall actually get a complaint?
what page are you on, 207?
No. 217?
Dirty.
Yeah, 217 right at the top. On the right of way.
I'm still waiting on my computer to pull it up. Give me just a second.
Yeah, it really doesn't correspond with the comments, does it?
No.
I would have to ask Matt, but I'm guessing that that was probably a test that he was doing.
Okay.
Or it's also possible that he got an anonymous phone call from somebody and he logged it that way as with our address, just so that it wouldn't have anybody else's info on it. But I would expect that it was likely a test. I'd have to ask Matt for more details about it.
Well, and the address is the same on both.
Yeah, the owner and location.
Yeah, so even if it's
I also
anonymous, it would
wonder-
still note the call, would it?
Well, it's in there as a right-of-way permit, but at the notes on the right-hand side, there's talking about bore will then travel east approximately 237 feet.
I think that's.
No, that's from the
continuation.
previous one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
from the
it's
previous one,
continuation.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to ask him and find out what,
Yeah, I was just
That
curious
was.
if City Hall got cited for something or.
I mean,
Not that I'm aware of, but
Susie, did you not?
that's a
shovel?
permit.
Easy now.
I don't think it's I'll have to ask Matt and find out.
Yeah, because it does say residential, doesn't it? Permit type.
Anything else from anybody with regard to the building department report? Okay, then move to item number 21, which is the ILPT. Sorry.
Matt just sent me an email. It was a test.
Oh, okay.
Yay.
So he's on vacation, but he's watching. Hi, Matt.
Thank you.
Item 21, the ILPT reports. Any questions with regard to those? Okay, then let's move to council member reports.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Okay, Deb, you want to go next?
I've got nothing.
Ralph?
Nothing at this time, sir.
Brian?
Nothing at length. Did receive some calls and comments about First Street West as far as how that'll lay out. So as we get down the road, and I assured them that obviously we don't have plans, things like that, but as we work through the process, we'll have to be more, we'll drill down on it and do what's best.
Yeah, sounds great. Matt?
Same thing he said, nothing more.
Nothing.
How are you feeling? Fair.
You up to speed?
He's ready to ride RAGBRAI.
I will be. Anything from
Sorry,
you?
public comments about yours? What do you?
Well, this is your reports. This is people that if you
Oh,
got
yeah.
calls or...
Well, I didn't get calls, but I did reach out to a few people. So I would love to have seen it if I had an email yet, but I did reach out after our meeting about funding. So I asked Heartland about theirs and Chamber, and so I'm awaiting some responses, I guess, but I at least wanted to say that I reached out to quite a few of them just to find that clarification on some of those, on what they were asking for and why. Like Heartland, I asked them if there's something specific that he needed, because we weren't supposed to have the funding going onward once it was established and they were running on their own, that we weren't, as a city, supposed to be funding it anymore. So if we could use it for other projects, or if there was something specific they need. As of Friday, I haven't checked it obviously today, but I hadn't gotten a response.
Did you send that to Brian Bell, or did you send that to John Lanner?
I just sent it to the Heartland Acres because I had no idea who a contact would be. So, and then I got a hold of the Chamber, and Nikki replied back and said that she was going to look into some of the funding that she would have done for Chamber of Congress if she got more funding to maybe grow bigger for Independence, for events and things like that. And she did have ideas, but she needed to get her hands on what those were.
Okay.
And then, I can't look in the email, so I don't remember. But, oh yeah, and I reached out to the library as well, and then asked them about funding and whether, a few notes of interest, just, I'd rather just read it off at a later time, but basically I asked them about funding, where they could see any kind of cuts, had they looked at that, just questions on that line, and got a reply back from Laura, but I mean, without being able to read it to you guys, I don't see the point of putting it up, so.
You might want to save
Yeah,
your
I'll
notes,
say
save your
it.
notes for the budget meeting that we have coming up
Yeah.
on the 17th.
So those were sent out, and I'm just waiting replies.
Okay,
So I did get some replies from people.
Sounds good.
Not all, And if you have a contact for Heartland, then you get, I guess.
Did you have anything, Susie? Pat?
I think everybody at this point knows that we have a special meeting tomorrow night at 5:30. Everybody is able to make it. I think Melissa was the only one that was not able to make it tomorrow night, so.
And I might,
If you can.
If I
that's
can,
great.
I'll show up, and if I can't, then.
Yeah. So we'll have that tomorrow night at 5:30 to work on that plat for Steve G's development out there. And that was purely because I forgot to put it on tonight's meeting, so that was my mistake. So I appreciate everybody being willing to have a special meeting tomorrow night to get that taken care of, so thank you for that. At the work session last week, I think, Deb, you had asked if I would give an update on the right-of-way encroachment stuff and where we were with that. So a couple things I want to point out. There's over 2,500 addressed properties in Independence, and we sent out 98 letters for this right-of-way encroachment issue. So there weren't hundreds of letters sent, there was 98. The other thing I would point out is we have 15 that have successfully already done things and taken care of stuff. I know there's several others that are in the works. And while there have been maybe one or two that have been, let's say, not pleasant for Matt to work with, the majority of people by and far are understanding of why this is going on. And with that, do you want to lead into the reasoning for why we went this direction and what we're doing?
Sure, absolutely. We had a resident that came to the city, and the resident had indicated that he felt that on the right-of-way, the city-owned property, where the mailboxes were, that the mailbox were potentially dangerous condition. Okay, so anybody that knows anything about civil law knows that when somebody tells us that there's a potential notice issue, the way the city can have potential liability is if we're on notice of a dangerous or defective condition and we do nothing about it. So our options were, we then contacted the city attorney. We said, okay, we've had complaints. There's a couple photographs that we've been given of mailboxes indicating they're in the right-of-way. They're not breakaway mailboxes, and therefore we had a concern about whether we've been given notice of a liability situation and what should we do about it. So the city attorney proposed some language for an amendment to the.
There was two options.
Well, yeah, there's two options. We tell everybody to take them all down, or we find some other recourse. And the recourse that we found was that if we were to go to each of the homeowners that has these mailboxes, and we were to say to them, you have an option, you can either take the mailbox down or fill out a permit and you sign an indemnity agreement saying that in the event that the city gets sued because we let you continue to leave this mailbox in the right-of-way, you or your insurance company would indemnify us. So in other words, if somebody hit the mailbox and there was some serious injury, and I'm not talking about just a vehicle, could be a bike, could be a pedestrian, could be anything. If somebody were to hit the mailbox and then sue the city, we wanted to make sure that we were protected. So that's what the indemnity agreement is about. We made some changes to the resolution, no, not the resolution, the ordinance with respect, the ordinances with respect to this issue. We decided that because these people have had these on their yards for 10 or 15 years and they look very nice, that we would have a moratorium time period where anybody that wanted to fill out the application and sign the indemnity agreement, they had until July the 1st. And as long as before July 1st they've done it, there's no cost to them, there's no anything about it that it would, other than their time to sign off on the documentation that's necessary for the indemnity part of it for the permit. So that's the story. I don't know what you read about it on Facebook or some other place, but that's the reason why we did it. And we're going to follow our city attorney's advice every opportunity that we can to make sure that we protect the city from getting sued for something, and that's what we've done.
And I would point out, too, we had I know there was one instance in town where we had somebody that, it looked like it was not a breakaway mailbox. And when Matt went out and talked with the individual, he actually showed that it was. It's built on a piece of PVC pipe, and it is such that if it was to be hit or damaged, it would not stay there, obviously. So with that, Matt logged that in the system. We would have never known about it, but for this, going through this process. So Matt logged it in the system so that if it gets called in later, then we know that it's actually a breakaway. He's got photos of how it works and all good information that we would never have had without this. So.
Okay, what else do you got?
That's all I've got.
Okay, I've got a few things. There were quite a few meetings that I attended toward the end of last month, which I couldn't report about on our work session meetings, so let me go through some of them. The Buchanan County Economic Development meeting, which is a meeting that all the mayors in Buchanan County are members of. They have there's new grant programs that have come out, and I just want to provide a little bit of information. Iowa Economic Development Authority, which is IEDA, has released updates to the Community Development Block Grant. When Matt said CDBG, that's what he's talking about. While it's still evolving, there's some future opportunities. There's 6 new programs that have been launched by IEDA, and this is also, Intercog is also involved in that as well. The new programs include pocket parks, streetscapes, roof replacement, planning grants, public service, homeless providers, and food pantries, and stormwater infrastructure. They've also got the well-established programs that they have. They've had a few changes to those. So the upper story housing conversion, the downtown revitalization program, the community facilities grants are now have a more competitive application model that's going to be involved for them. Also at the same meeting, we learned that the tourism, Buchanan County Tourism, they have a brand new board. As part of their board and their operations, they've turned over the tourism to Buchanan County Economic Development. So Izzy is now an employee of Buchanan County Economic Development, and they'll oversee her progress in terms of the things that she's doing as well. Are you on tourism?
Me?
Yeah,
No.
you. Okay.
He's on the chamber board, right?
He's on the chamber board. Okay. All right, so the next thing is Buchanan County Community Foundation, which is somebody that gives grant money out to different places within the county and has given grants to the city in terms of the police department, fire department, library, also other things. They have a grant writing workshop that's coming up on March the 4th from 6 to 8 at the library. This is being sponsored by the Buchanan County Buchanan County Community Foundation, Buchanan County Economic Development, also the Chamber, and also the Iowa State University Extension. So if anybody's interested in the grant write workshop, that would be that day.
What were the date on that again, Mayor, please?
It is March the 4th from 6 to 8.
Thank you.
In addition, Buchanan County Economic Development has a program which is called LEAD, and it's talk about leaders in Buchanan County. They have a program that's being set up. I have an application form if anybody's interested in it. The applications are due by the 20th of February. First programming is March 10th, and I won't read all. There's 8 different programs that run between March the 10th and July the 29th, and I won't read them all, but just a couple of examples on training topics. Storytelling for impact, how to inspire, influence, and lead. Leading with empathy, emotional intelligence in action. Public speaking with confidence, time management for community leaders. Just a couple of examples. So if anybody's interested in that LEAD program, I have information on that.
What does that cost?
The cost is $250, but I thought there were some scholarship fundings for some things. I'm not sure about that, but
I don't know.
But it's the program is $250, and that includes all the program materials, the assessments, meals, refreshments, other programs, and you do get a certificate.
I think you're right. I remember Buchanan County discussing this, I think, and they did have funding for it, but
Yeah, they have a graduation date in July for it, so you'd be a graduate of the LEAD Academy or LEAD Buchanan, whatever the correct name is.
so if somebody was interested, they could check with them about how much it would actually cost.
So the same night as Buchanan County Economic Development, we also had the meeting with Chris Parker, who's the Buchanan County Assessor. That's our annual report regarding assessment. No surprise that the assessed value of properties in Buchanan County has increased. They also have their budget, which was discussed. They're looking at Vanguard reappraisals in either 2030 or 2032. Vanguard reappraisals is someone that goes out and looks at each and every property within Buchanan County and puts a better value on the property based upon their actual inspections of the property. Currently, the assessed values are determined more in terms of what's available on the website and things like that, in terms of square footage and acreage and things of that nature. There hasn't been a full reappraisal in Buchanan County since 1996. So the new assessor feels that that's something that he wants to do. There is a public hearing on their budget on March the 24th at 6:15 at EOC, what's the right abbreviation?
Well, it's the Health Department Emergency Operations Center out
Right.
on the west, First Street West.
Okay, so that's the public hearing then, March 24th at 6:15, and that immediately follows the Buchanan County Economic Development meeting at the same location on the same date. Okay, March, the next day, we had our meeting with AMR. AMR is our current ambulance service. The numbers were, if anybody's interested, I have the whole packet, but the total number of calls was 273 for the last quarter, which is significantly up over what it's been in the past. Of those 273 calls, 137 of those were just for independents. 91 of them were transfers involving the hospital, either to or from the hospital. There were 12 calls to Jessup, Mercy One, or Regional Medical, which is Manchester, because AMR did not have an ambulance available. It was either out on another call or something. There were also 13 pages for Independence Fire to assist in the last quarter. Normally we meet quarterly. The AMR consists of the AMR people, including one of their vice presidents of the Chicago area came all the way to Independence to attend the meeting. It's myself on behalf of the city, it's John Kurtz on behalf of the county, and it's Wade Weiss on behalf of the hospital. We're going to meet in March to discuss updates. The biggest issue there is our contract with AMR is running out as of November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the EMS levy passed and that the county is in the process of moving forward. Our notification date to AMR that we're terminating the contract is due May 1st. So that date is coming up. They know that we're moving forward, but they want to know as soon as possible about that, because they don't have another area they don't have another location in this particular area. So the people that are currently employed by AMR, they want them to be able to be released and potentially hired by someone else rather than being at a job come the termination of the contract, which is perfectly right.
I think their nearest is Charles City.
Right. Their nearest current one is Charles City. So we'll be meeting with them. The other thing,
How close are we to the implementation of the county takeover?
the county has hired a ambulance director. At the meeting at the supervisors meeting this morning, Kim Lingenfelter has been hired for that position. So she'll be the ambulance director effective February 22nd. So she'll start moving forward with the process. There's a lot of things she has to do. She's got to acquire ambulances probably used because it's going to take so long to get a new one. The time for delivery is generally a couple years almost on that. She's also got to worry about setting up insurance programs. The good thing about it is that she currently is the ambulance chief at Jessup. So she's been doing all these things for Jessup for the last few years. She is an EMT. She's been volunteering as an EMT going back as far as 1996. So she's been involved in this practice for a while. I understood they had 4 applications, and she was the far and away the best applicant according to the supervisors. So that'll be the start of things once she's in place. My expectation is that when we have our meeting in March, AMR will want us to tell them that we want to give them the notice effective May 1. But the only problem is that if the November date is right now we don't want to go past the November date because it's an automatic renewal. It's an automatic renewal if it go by May 1 for another 2 years, which we don't want to do, of course.
Would they negotiate a 1-year contract?
Well, AMR said that if they if the county needed them for a couple of additional months or whatever, that they'd be willing to negotiate and work with that, but it had to be a contract signed by the county because we informed them that the city would not be involved at that point in time.
Good man.
So the other thing is I also inquired in terms of the ambulances that they had. I understand that some of them might need some servicing and things like that, but I mean, if we don't have the county doesn't have another source, and they indicated that they'd be willing to talk about anything. If as long as money's on the table, they're happy to talk about something. So we have that. See, I'm also a member of the Iowa Mayors Association. There's over 400 mayors in the state of Iowa. We meet bi-monthly to talk about issues. The biggest issue, obviously, is the property tax bills that are pending. Other issues are there's a number of cities that have the motorized bike issues that we've dealt with already that are in the process of looking for resolutions and trying to figure out how to do that. The Duane Arnold reopening in Lynn County, the data centers there, they're interested in that. And then the mayor from Charles City indicated that they're looking at a county system that would involve potentially leaving AMR as well. Supervisors meeting this morning, in addition to the hiring of Kim, they also approved our build grant for First Street West as far as them filing a letter of support as well. And I think that covers it.
I got two things that came up while you were talking.
Okay.
That I thought about. So I wanted to point out, I know the council's aware of this, we received a wastewater and drinking water treatment financial assistance grant from the state of Iowa for $500,000. We're working through the process of getting that implemented and ready and stuff, but that has been approved by the state. That is the maximum award that you can get through that grant. So while it feels kind of small sometimes to think about $500,000 in relation to a $43 million construction grant or construction program, that's $500,000 that our residents do not have to pay in terms of increased rates. So I feel like that's fairly impactful. The other thing I was going to point out, and the council doesn't know about this because it happened this morning, as far as I know, I got a notice from Ashley Hinson's office that President Trump signed the bill for the community project funding for CPF. So that means another $2 million that's coming to us from the feds to help us with the treatment plant. Now, there's some complexities that come with that, which we've talked about during the recent council meeting or the work session. But it's good to know that it has made it all the way through the process and it's now been signed. So now we can move forward with how we're going to implement that and how we're going to utilize that. So,
Can I walk on top of that? I think this is. I think this is good information for the citizens to know, because there's been a lot of talk how we don't try to do things to reduce taxes and stuff. And with you, the city council, and you're in consistently looking for funds and availabilities, and those things are just not done by the wayside. Those are planned and thought out, and you do a tremendous job on that, and I just want to commend you for staying on top of all that to try to help reduce our costs as much as possible when we have events of this nature and size. So thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
You also want to mention the property that the wastewater treatment plant's not being paid for by property tax.
I mean, that's a valid point to bring up, too. The whole project that we're talking about with the treatment plant, it's important for everybody who's watching and everybody in the community to remember, that entire project is paid for by the ratepayers that are paying for sewer rates and so on and so forth. This is not, there are no property tax dollars being put into that project. It's all paid for out of utility funds, which means that's the rates that that our ratepayers, our users of our sewer plant are paying.
And I know we talked about this last year when people were asking about the amount of money that we had set aside. Do you know what our current number is approximately? At that time, they were talking about the fact that they had set aside $1 million to go toward the treatment of the wastewater treatment plant, even though they were doing more of a, quote, Band-Aid fix at that time. It's my understanding, is it 9?
there's a significant amount of funding available for us to utilize towards that. Now, how much we use of it, we haven't really decided yet. When we initially did our pro forma calculation that set the rates that we're going through, that we're using right now, we were planning to use $3.77 million of cash towards the treatment plant. Because of some of the delays that we've had, there is now more cash there than what there was originally, because we were planning to be under construction at this point when we did that pro forma initially. So, not to open a wound there, but that's the reason why there's more money there. What that looks like will be something that the council will have to discuss as we get further down the road. But there's a significant amount of funding there right now in the utility account, and it's only building because of the rates that the council already put in place that started in October of '24, I believe was when we did the first rate increase for that. So.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so if there's nothing else, I need a motion to,
So move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Stand adjourned.